as a union what players try to do, and it's very difficult because this is a sport with the most players. So getting all the players to agree on something is difficult. You would be in that meeting room as with your union rep, and basically, I'll be honest, a lot of guys didn't care. A lot of guys just said, well, whatever you think. Whatever to the union rep, whatever you think, and then the union rep represents your team to the union. And because there's almost 2,000 guys that we're talking about here trying to get everybody on the same page. And then you have to decide what's the important thing that you want to fight for. You don't fight for everything. You pick the things like the commissioner and his control. As I said, there is no way on God's green earth, if I'm a player, I'm keeping 1 foot off, outside of playing and striking for the commissioner to not have the power he has. That affects a few dozen people. Not 2,000 people. So that's not what I'm fighting for when everybody's saying, oh, they need to get that bargain differently. No, they don't. They need to pick the things that affect the majority of people to try and change for the players today and the players going forward. That's what they need to do. And then the players going forward, they do have to live with the CBA that was bargained. I disagree with Bill Polian when he says they don't have the right to do it. They absolutely have the right to do it. Where he is correct is they are not entitled to a new contract. That is true. They're not entitled to it, but they have the right to say, I'm withholding my services because I don't like what I'm getting paid right now. And then basically you're going to have a standoff and see who wins that.
So I do want to address the first part of your conversation, though, Mike, because as somebody that's been in many unions myself and been a part of collective bargaining in a different medium, while you can say, okay, a few players are affected by it, so I'm not going to strike for that. I understand that logic, but then you don't get to complain about it. That's just if you guys as a collective bargain, as a union, decide not to fight for something, you don't get to complain about it afterwards. I agree with that. So to me,
I'm with you there.
Whatever
you may
bed
not like it, but it's there. Yeah.
Whatever bed they've made, whatever bed they're in, they've made. And while it may have made sense in the negotiation process, doesn't change the bed that they're in. Now, to Bill Polian's point, I think it feels like Bill's like sort of stodgy get off my lawn guy in this instance because he's saying you don't have the right. You're absolutely right. Khalil Mack can choose not to come in,
right?
And if he chooses not to get paid, he can choose that. And I think the best point, and I know this is where you're going to go, Mike, is that we live in a world, like it or not, where the teams have absolutely no obligation to these players, but the players have all obligation to the teams. It's an insane system to me.
Well, yeah, I mean, the Bills' main point is they are supposed to honor the contract. You sign this contract, you're supposed to live it out. Only one side of this bargain is beholden to that ideal that we owe finishing out the life of this contract, that you play the contract and this is what you signed up for and this is what you do. This is a performance-based industry, man. If that player doesn't perform well enough, you're going to cut him 2 or 3 years into that contract. And conversely, if that player 2 or 3 years into his deal says, you know what, I'm outperforming what you guys are paying me, he has the right, or right's a stupid word, all that stuff. I get so bogged down with the idea of people throwing rights around. You know what? That player can stand up and say, hey, I got one option in this situation. And this is the weird part for me that Bill Polian is bringing this up like this is something new. Players have been holding out to try and get contract for a while now. Bill is well acquainted with how the game goes, so bringing up this idea that you're supposed to honor the contract and talk to the CBA, this is part. I mean, you can explain to me that, I'm not supposed to go above 55 on the highway, but I do, and sometimes you get popped, but the rest of us kind of understand this is business as usual. Yeah, we've got these parameters in place, but we rarely ever follow them. Teams will re-sign players well before this at certain times, and teams will wait all the way up until the end. Now, the real question involved in here is how much does holding out actually still help the players at this point? Because if you're looking at who has leverage in what situation, how much is holding out really helped Aaron Donald at this point? How much is holding out really helped any of these guys who have all the leverage based on their play and where they stand in the market at their position? And yet if those guys can't turn that and manufacture it into leverage, how effective really is the practice at this point?
Well, how far are you willing to go? Because what did Aaron Donald do last year? He showed up and he played.
Well, no, I guess that's my point is we understand, too, like that's how it goes. You're not going to miss real time in the season, so holding out in the offseason, how effective is it?
So it's not effective.
That's what I mean, but we're still doing
completely agree. And so anybody that's missing a mini camp right now, all they're doing is making the statement that, okay, right now you're crystallizing for us that you are now willing to hold out at least of that official thing, whatever the fine may be. But let's be honest. It only matters if you start sitting out games. That's when it hurts the team, and that's when it hurts you.
Well,
Okay,
I think it hurts the team after the fact too, because these are all guys that are going into that 5th year of their team option, and then become free agents after that. And so, if you really want to jilt a guy enough to where when it comes to free agency, you risk losing Aaron Donald or Odell Beckham Jr. or Khalil Mack, that's the risk that you have to play out, and that's the decision you have to make as a team: is how valuable is this guy?
That's where we're going right now. Does a player have the gumption to sit out real games? And then does the team have the gumption to have that kind of bad will that's letting him do that says, well, no matter what he does now, because some players will say, if I start this season and don't have a deal, I'm going to play, but you got no shot at signing me next year. You've aggravated me enough. I'm going to be a free agent. I'm going to take care. Now, they can get franchise tagged as well, and that could start the whole process over again.